please let us know, say hello, and remind us that we are not alone. If you are watching this later, you're watching it actually on youtube.com/CBRMTG. However, if you're watching it right now, you're watching on twitch.tv/CBRMTG. Come here whenever you want, whenever we're online, and you'll be able to see a bunch of 7 Point Highlander content. You can check out our 7 Point Highlander website, that's 7ph.com.au. And we also have a Discord. I highly recommend you get into it because if you're watching this, then you are in the right place to talk about Highlander. So Highlander Discord there. You can find all the deck lists talked about today by typing !deck in the chat. And you'll get a list to all the public Moxfield ones. We usually put them up on MTG Top 8 as well, .com. But I haven't yet, so hopefully we will soon when it'll add to the overall data process. So I guess without further ado, my name is Angus. I'm actually joined here by recent Winner Duel winner, Josh. Josh, how are you?
Good. Hello.
Very good, very good. So Josh and I are here to talk about the Good Games Winner Duel that happened on the 30th of November. It was 32 people, so I think this is what we're going to put as like our minimum. Like this was really cuspy on regards to like, is it a good enough data point? Like we actually only got 20 something lists. 28 lists, so we're missing 4 lists. So it's a very small data set, so we'll take it all with a grain of salt. But I mean, your name is on here, Josh, and Dazzling Lights right up there at the #1 spot. 32 players, 6 rounds. You split in the top 2. You and Brandon walking home hand in hand with a tropical island.
Yeah.
Here you are here. Tell us about the event. What did you play? How did you enjoy it?
So I piloted the Jund Midrange, which I think I brought to Mana Clash as well, the first Mana Clash, and I was top 16 for that. And so that was like the first event that I really learned the deck, and I thought it was a really powerful deck. Recently after that, there were a few points changes, and also the big MH3 came out, and so I pivoted to Mardu. And I thought that both decks were very similar in what they wanted to do. They basically played the most broken creatures and backed it up with lots of removal and interaction. And I thought that Madu was a little bit better, and then 3 points came down on it with White Plume, the Fable, and
Age as well.
Flage.
Mm.
Yeah, so those. And then I was like, the deck's definitely still playable, but I wanted to go back to my roots, so I decided to bring Jan as well to
Mhm.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, really nice. And it's interesting. I remember you coming up to me in the event, and you were like, "Oh, I'm like everyone's playing combo, and my deck is like so primed to beat combo, but you just like
Yes.
were not hitting those
Yes.
matchups."
Yes.
And
So I 100%. So I coming into this tournament was very, very afraid of combo. I think the main thing was obviously the points announcements that came before, having like so many of Grixis and Madu being pointed so heavily, and then decks like bots being hit with Academy as well. I thought that like decks like Flash and Walks were like were going Flash, Walks, and Breach actually were the decks that I was really scared of.
mhm.
And so I kind of tuned my decks to beat those decks. So I did play. So my matchups for the day, I played against 3 Nadu Walks decks. I played against Jund and Grixis and Flash.
Mm.
So I did play against quite a lot of the decks that I thought would be popping up,
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah,
Um, as you can see, my weird inclusions of Stranglehold in the sideboard, and
oh,
main deck
yeah, yeah,
Opposition Agent.
yeah.
Um, those were like cards that I thought are just really good. Like they give you a lot of like equity in game one,
Hmm.
and doesn't make you just instantly lose the game to these decks.
Mm.
Um,
It's a really
yeah.
interesting list. I like the Worldly Tutor for the Accidental Metamorphosis Fanatic.
Yes,
I like
yes,
there's like
yes,
little synergies here or there. You know, the
yep,
Emperor of Bones has sort of shown its worth lately as well. But
yes,
like,
100%. Yep,
um, even though we've seen cards like Malevolent Rumble and Worldly Tutor like start to pop up as like cards that are
yeah,
like good to find the cards that you need. You're still playing these like huge haymakers, Ren and
Yep.
6 and Minsk and Boo at that top end as
Yep.
well. Planeswalker's like not seeing very much play, so it's like it's good.
Yeah.
No one's playing their Sheoldred's Edicts anymore, you know, so it's you're in a good spot. So
True.
it's a really
Yep.
interesting deck. Yeah, I like it a lot.
I think you're also right though that definitely the 32 players does definitely make this a very small um tournament compared to normal ones that we play, like the Mana Clash and the Canberra events,
Hmm.
which got a lot more. So I think this data is more like also half meta gamed on like the Canberra meta a lot,
Yeah,
because most of the players, there were a few Wollongong players as well, but the most of these are the Canberra um the Canberra meta. So it's
yeah.
kind this deck was kind of tuned to fit that kind of meta,
Mm.
and the players that I know will be showing up.
I think you get the benefit of like measuring the top eights that have come out, and like you know within you and your team like
Yeah,
what is good right now and what's
yeah,
showing, and like the fact that you said I tuned my deck to beat this, and then I'm looking at winners and losers on here. When you're looking at meta share and win share, meta share is just how many of those decks were in the meta, and then win share is how many of them shared the winning decks. So it was
yep,
13 winning decks out of the 32. So 15% of those 13 decks were Omnath Nadu. Same with Breach, same with Grixis, same with Jund. So these are like big winners, because if you're looking at the metagame share, it's like, yes, only two people played Jund midrange, which was 6.3% of the meta, but
yep,
15% of the win share was Jund. So it's like,
yeah,
it's interesting to see who the winners are here. And Breach did really well, but one of the losers on this list, my heart and soul reanimator, I think the win share is so funny. I came into that tournament, I was 3-0. I was like,
yeah,
beat someone in like 4 turns for the whole match, and was like, oh, sorry, bad luck. And then like round two, it was like, oh, do you think Entomb should be pointed? It's such a busted card, blah, blah, blah. And I was like 3-0. I was like, beat Walks, beat Mardu. And then, or beat Grixis, beat Mardu. So it was like, I was also going through the sort of normal thing. But then I was like, lost to Breach that made it into the top eight, then lost to
yep.
Artifacts that made it into the top eight,
I
and then lost to Walks by the end of it. So it was like pretty like normal
Yep,
spread of
yep.
decks. But to
Angus,
end on a
yeah.
3-3 is like so, it's hard to ride high on a 3-0 and then go straight to
Yeah,
3-3,
but
you know?
you get to go home knowing that you started with a 3-0. You start off strong,
Yes,
and you can
yes.
say that like your three losses were against the best, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's going to be a cool level up moment for me in the future to try and beat the people who are like destined for top eight, you know? But that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there.
Yep, 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 yep.
The winners for today, Walks, Breach, Grixis, Jund, other decks as well, which I've put down the bottom here at 28% of 28% of the deck lists that were submitted for this event were one-ofs. Demir Tempo, shops, you know, like all these random just bits and bobs. And it's fun to watch it over time, because it's like, well, how much of the win share is devoted to rogue decks, you know? How much of it is
Yeah,
devoted to ones that only see one or two showings? And 38% of the win share for other decks is pretty good. It's nice.
yep, yep.
Um, Anything else here that speaks out to you before we move on?
Um, no, yeah, that's yeah, no, covered that
Beauty.
really well.
Yeah, lovely. There's your beautiful face, of course. James in the background, our judge for the day, pouring a scour across you, walking out of there at
The disapproval,
the
yeah.
disapproval. That's right. No, very nice. But as we move on now, now we're looking at sort of the meat of the event. This is our most played pointed cards. Just for reference, it's usually Force of Wills is like usually at the top, so it's interesting to see it. I mean, small sample size again, take it all with a grain of salt, but it's at the top. It's at the top fields as well. Fourth Aerolingus, 35% at RC7. Orcish Bowmasters, 27% at RC7, and now not even on this list, or on this list at 9.4%. So definitely, I think people are like spreading their points a little bit further than they
Yeah.
normally would.
I think with the recent pointings that have come in, people have been pushed to basically hone in on those one pointers that they're putting in their deck and making sure that that is exactly what the deck wants. I think people on decks have been putting a lot of 1 point or even 2 point cards that are just powerful cards that go in their deck, or and also relying on those cards that have been very good that haven't been pointed. And so I think recently with all these pointings, I think people are being very selective with their point choices.
Yeah.
So you see actually Bowmaster going down in play rate, and I think that was a choice that I also made. I cut Bowmasters just because it doesn't actually. It's a powerful card, but it doesn't actually progress the game plan very much. It's just you're just relying on like, oh, I'm hitting a brainstorm
Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
blue decks are all playing that, and it's just gonna be a great card. Um, yeah, so I think you're seeing those like Snapcaster Mage, Bowmasters,
Yeah.
cards like that are just generally good cards, just going down in play, I guess.
Yeah. I like the idea of I like the idea of people just trying to fit in those like 1 point filler cards, because it
Mm,
seems that
yep,
like it's pretty easy actually now to just play 7 1 pointed cards or
yep,
maybe a 2
yep,
pointed card or whatever. But
yep.
we look up here on the right hand side, it has points by descending, and this is like the value of a point if you kind of think of it that way. Like even though there are only 4 copies of Time Walk, like more people spent like the value of the points allocated to Time Walk was still actually quite high. 20 points in the event was devoted to Time Walk. Same with Mana Crypt at 5 points as well, and that sort. So people are still, even though, as you mentioned, people are like finding they have to cut maybe a 2 pointer that they liked for this Fable, or they might want to play Phage or whatever, but people are still pretty happy to sleeve up these really big hitter cards at the top end of
Yeah,
it,
for
Time
sure,
Walk,
for
Mana
sure.
Crypt,
Yep,
Lurus. So they're still
yep,
valuable, I suppose.
yep.
Yeah. Um, only other thing is that, and we'll go into this later, but Caracas at 9.4, at RC7 it was 26.5. So actually, like a
Yeah, it was
quarter of the field was
huge.
playing
It
Caracas.
was huge. Yeah,
So
Caracas was amazing,
I think,
amazing. Just that
yeah,
with Madu, it was a mirror breaker that was just would instantly break the mirror by a long shot, and also its pivotal decks like Walks um Jund as well. Shieldred just became a really bad creature into so many copies of Caracas, and yeah, and now we can see that Caracas down.
yeah,
Those
definitely.
legends will be able to.
And that'll be reflected as well in the color distribution when we look at it later, because white is just, people are just not playing as much white. And I think that's like
Yeah.
maybe the meta is like readjusting, where they're like, okay, all right, fine, we won't play Ajani in every deck. Like Ajani is now not the best deck because it just copped, it just copped Phage, just got Fable. Like a lot of these people are
Yeah.
now 10 point decks. That just happened overnight.
Yeah,
So
I do think it's also kind of a knee-jerk reaction to the points
I think so too.
announcement. I
Yeah.
don't think it's exactly like this is the meta right
Yeah.
now. I think that because the points announcement was pretty close to the winner duel. It
Hmm.
was kind of like people, especially me as well. I think people just saw, oh, my deck appointed. Let's see whether we can find another deck. I don't think
Yeah.
it's necessarily white is dead or white is a bad color at all. I just think that like people just instantly
Trying
take a
different
look at
things as
something
well.
else. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
for sure. Just quickly from the chat, some nice words by Redhead Redemption. Thank you very much. It's good to know that we are streaming out to the world. I think on the other side of the coin, this is going to be a funny data point as well, because it is a low event. But there was lots of points that didn't get played, and I think if you had a larger data set, you'd see those like 1 copy here, 1 copy there, maybe 2 copies of these ones. But this is like the first time where we've had, I don't know, 30 points that, maybe not 30, maybe 25 or something, but quite a lot of points that just like didn't see any play at all. Anything point out
Yeah, I
to
think
you from
one
here?
one one is the strip mine that has been depointed from 2 to 1, seeing an
It's true.
unfortunate 0 copies played. The lands players I honestly do think the lands deck has really a lot of way. I think they've got 3 points, and I genuinely think that deck has a lot of legs to walk on. I think
For sure.
um I
It's
think it's
interesting,
I think it's
yeah. It's interesting the
yeah I think
politics of it because I feel like we never see lands decks outside of Canberra, but the
yeah
Canberra lands deck aficionados, like, sometimes they'll just take a different deck to an event or whatever.
yeah.
Like, so it's like
I mean
you just never
the
feel
lands
like we
players
don't see
have a
it.
Discord. They're
They're
committed.
committed.
They're
They are committed.
committed to their archetype, which is really good. And I think I've always looked at lands players with a bit of like, I don't know whether that's playable, but I think that there is something there. And lands are just OP. Like
Yeah,
they
yeah,
being able to be uninteractable is very scary.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. No
yeah.
doubt.
So
We no doubt. Well, maybe it's the long con, perhaps, because crop rotation recently put on the watch list to go
I
down to
know
0. So fast
soon
bond
they'll
ended up
be
being
soon they,
okay. Maybe
yeah.
crop rotation is fine as well.
Soon they'll have like 12 points to toy around with. Yeah,
Yeah,
it'll be
now we're
awesome.
talking. Now we're talking. Lovely. Uh, Zooming in now on the top 8. And again, grain of salt, grain of salt, grain of salt. We've included the conversion rate. We do this every time. It's just to say that 25% of the people made it into the top 8. So all variables removed, you would have a 25% chance of making it into the top 8, maybe. Um, if the number is higher than 25, it kind of implies that, low data set, grain of salt, that your play rate went up because, yes, there was only 2 copies of Lurus of the Dream Den, but 2 of them made top 8, so it's like your conversion rate goes up to 66%. So 66% of Luruses made it into the top 8, which is fine. Anything here that is worth drawing out, Josh?
Register Lutri in your decks as a companion.
It seems good.
Seems pretty good.
It seems good. Yeah, it seems good. It's funny.
Yeah,
I know that Max is single-handedly screwing all of the Max Ashurst is screwing all of these
yeah,
data points up because
100%. Yeah,
balance, mana drain, time twister. It's like, yes, put these cards in your deck and your win rate will go up. I think you're
Ye-
right about Lutri, but these other ones is like,
yes. I definitely locked onto Lutri because that is the more general deck. But Max Asher's bringing his very powerful wheel deck that is one of a kind, and he's a pilot one of a kind that is
yeah,
amazing to see at work. He'll kill you without you even knowing what you're dying to.
agreed. Yeah,
But yeah, it's awesome to see him bringing these cards into these tournaments and doing so well with them as well.
yeah, yeah, no doubt. And we'll have a chance to look at his deck later. It is quite something. So stick around if you'd like to see that at the end. So a lot of data here, lots of fun arrows. Every time I add some level of complexity to what we're already looking at, this time, since last stream, we wanted to add the recent points changes, but of course, like, is the play rate or the PR, is it going up or down since that decision had been made? So what you're looking at here is like a lot of red downs, and that just implies that the play rate since the pointing happened, or in the case of the watch list cards that they've been put on the watch list, the measurement between before that time and after that time, you'll see the play rate difference or whatever. So White Plume Adventurer, since becoming a 3-pointed card, when it became a 2-pointed card, it was 15. It dropped 15%, and then it dropped again 10. It dropped 10% from the most recent change. So it is slowly, the amount of people playing White Plume is slowly dropping, and that's probably just a good indication that the pointing has worked. We'll see what happens. I think something that I see on these lists a lot, Undermountain Adventurer, play rate still just going down. I don't think that people are interested in Undermountain Adventurer very much at all. Could just be a green thing, but Nadu's up, Demonic Tutor's up. Anything here, Josh, that you like?
Yeah, about the Undermountain Adventurer. So I actually think the Undermountain Adventurer is actually pretty good. Um, referring back to your chat with Chifley when he won the Pog winner duel, and how he was talking about Unmount Adventurer. I think that card is actually really powerful. The reason I didn't register it is right now because the difference between Undermount Adventurer and Ravenloft Adventurer, the difference is actually not that much. But I still do think Undermount Adventurer is a powerful card. It not
Yeah.
dying to bolt is huge, and it just really works in the Jun shell. And so yeah, but I think the Ravenloft Adventurer has accomplishes about like 80%
Mm,
of what Unmount Adventurer can do, and so I'll gain a point there just to get 75% of the actual like effect.
the effect, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And Ravenloft is quite
and then
good, and I think it's just in a good
yeah,
color,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know. And sometimes the hit counters come into play, you
It's a
know.
good card, and it also I think why the upside of playing it as well was it was really good in some of the combo decks. It hits the walk stack pretty nicely,
Hmm.
and also hits the flash deck because the flash deck can't combo off with the cat going into exile. If it dies, it goes to
Yes,
exile, and they
yes.
can't bring it back anymore. Um, yeah. Um, yeah, and then you also see like Fable and White Plume and Flage just like dropping a ton. Yeah,
Yeah.
Madhu and Boris falling off
I
the
think it just, yeah, it probably just
falling
did,
off the cliff.
yeah, exactly. It was just probably doing what it was meant to do. Is that Gush is seeing less play, Flage is seeing less play. Tolarian Academy, I think maybe they just got the raw end of the deal from the points announcement. I agree that like don't like I kind of like Gush. I kind of like Fable. Honestly, I feel like I'm
Mm,
alone in this one, but like it just makes the good decks less good.
mm,
And I guess I'm pro that now. Um, Psychic Frog, Psychic Frog dropped, but like not as much as Flage and Fable did. But
yep.
like maybe that's a good thing. Like maybe it's like
Mm,
Fable was such a free roll because it was actually just like Red Brainstorm, and now
yes.
I don't know,
Yes.
people are still playing it, but it's not seeing as much play as it definitely was before.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Um, let's go to the next one, which is moving off pointings, moving into non-land cards. Um, I mean, same list every time. The top 5 played cards at the most recent large event, which was the RC Regional Championship 7 at the start of the month, had Mental Misstep at 81%. So there's only 2 lists that weren't playing Mental Misstep. So good on them. I've turned it into the like, can you pass rule 1 of Highlander, which is put Mental Misstep in your deck. I've moved past that now,
Yeah.
and now I'm an advocate for not playing it.
Yeah.
This is a huge tip. But yeah, Lightning Bolt, 60% here, 66%. So basically the same for RC. Fable's dropped off, of course. This is the thing that you're not seeing on the list at the moment.
Mm,
Brainstorm at 60% versus 53. So still like mostly the same cards that we see every time, with the slight exception that there is more ponders than brainstorms, which I don't think we've seen at all.
yeah.
Anything here that
Yeah. I
looks
think
good?
no. I think it's very like usual. I think with this such low sample size as well, you can take a look at these cards and also kind of extrapolate the decks that were being played on the day.
Mm.
A lot of these are like you see Lotus Petal being played so much, like the Breach decks and Flash decks are definitely contributing to that with the Artifact
Mm.
decks as well. Um, yeah, but I think a lot of the cards are very kind of pillars of the format.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. I think the sideboard again looks mostly the same. It's interesting, I guess, to see if it changes. I know Volti's doing work on her streams
Yeah.
about just like measuring ubiquity.
Yep.
I think it's a good idea. I don't care that Brainstorm is 0 points, and I don't think it should be a point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
agree.
okay that we have staples as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Beauty. Moving on. Here's our archetype distribution. So the difference between this and I think I have the next one as well. Yeah, so here's regional championship 7 at the start of November, and this is at the end of November. So I think the main thing that we're looking at here is like control just like died, just like fell off. And I
Yep.
think it was like low play rates then as well. So it's interesting to see.
Yep.
Anything else here that points out to you? I know combo's up as well. Mid range is up.
Yeah, combo was I that's what we expected. We expected combo definitely to be a bit more prevalent with less mid range, right?
Mm,
You because Madu kind of getting kicked in the head. We expected more combo, and I guess that's also
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I think this will go up and down, as Raj said
Yep.
in the chat. Combo rising to meet the mid range menace. Like, it's been a great time to be playing it because no one wants to play control, but everyone wants to play like
Yeah.
three
Yeah, I
mana,
definitely think yeah,
X
control.
star.
I like this kind of like meta. I think one like my stance on Highlander has been very uh, I I just play whatever with the play to what the committee like the pointings come out, build a deck that works, right? I
Yeah,
think kind of deciding on oh I think this card should be a point is not a great way to look at the format. I think it's better if you kind of build something that kind of meets the pointings and try to build the strongest thing
yeah,
with that in mind.
yeah, yeah. I think so too. I think so too. Well, we have. I mentioned this before with Caracas. Just pointing out from the chat. Threat something. Hold on. Threat variety and archetype diversity have made it very hard for control decks to tune their decks. Control decks do well in smaller local events where control players can fine tune their decks and sideboards, but they're harder to do in larger events. Yeah, and that's yeah, I completely agree with that. It's like you have to. I think the problem with initiative era for control was that uh, you it was too difficult. You had to plan for too many things as a control deck. Like you just had to pull yourself in too many
Yeah.
different directions. But like now it's even like blown out even further, and people just don't want to play control at all.
I think there definitely is control to be played. I'm love playing control, and I think Ben from the committee playing Blue Moon control, playing really interesting cards like Fall to Favor and the one mana card the name escapes my mind, the Silence, the one mana enchantment that just turns a creature into 0/1 with no abilities.
Oh,
So
witness
like
protection maybe.
yeah,
That's
something like
sounds
that.
sounds
Yeah,
like a lot of fun. Yeah.
it's just like yeah, it's very it's creative answers that control can come up with that
Hmm.
people are like, I'm just familiar with Cryptic Command and Mystic Sanctuary, but I think there is definitely things to build there.
Definitely, definitely. Looking at the color pie, this is. I think I can go like this. Yes. So here again, there's not much. There's actually not that much difference. There was more green being played and less white, I think is probably the only thing. Drop in white. Red still most popular, 24, 25%. And then, yeah, black is down. Blue is about the same. So, I mean, not too much change here. Anything exciting from you, Josh?
Nah, no, looks
Yeah.
like yeah, looks pretty similar.
I think it's what we can expect, of course, is that Unable to Scream is the card. Yeah, thank you,
That's right,
Beckham
Unable to
Bernard.
Scream,
Yeah.
awesome card.
Awesome card. Yeah, I think this is what you mentioned before. Is just that Flage got pointed, so less people are playing white, and that's probably fine as well. It's just like trying to see what else is out there. Let's look at some decks. This is the sort of second half of the stream, and it's just talking about the decks, of course, going through each archetype. So grain of salt, grain of salt, grain of salt. I do the archetype distribution through community consultation, and most of the time we just rely on how you name your deck. So whenever you submit a deck, actually take time to name it because it's cool. And if you need help with naming conventions, let us know. It's something that we go through a lot in the process. Mid range, three in the top eight, pretty good. Nearly half of the decks in the top eight were mid range, and they had a very positive win share as well. 39% of the meta, but 46% of the 13 winning decks. Anything exciting here? I know that Omnath Midrange performed extremely worse than Omnath Walks, but if you look at it
Yep.
together, the Omnathy decks, that's six. That's actually starting to look
Yeah.
like quite a lot. 6 out of 11.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think the Nadu walks and Omnath walks decks, they're just really strong at the moment.
Mm.
Um, yeah, they're just able to power up so many powerful threats, and whether you're on walks or not, it's also very scary with the Nadu being a very powerful card, being able to generate so much advantage.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I think it's like it's performing on the axis, performing on an axis that is very unique because I would not call any combo deck a mid-range deck because you have to put synergy cards in your deck and you have to
Yeah,
take
yep,
out
yep, yep.
value cards. But it's like the problem with Walks is that all of its pieces also are just good cards.
Yeah,
So it's
which is
like,
just great. It's an awesome deck.
yeah,
It's able to fight you on a fair game, and if it's losing, just pivots to a really unfair game.
yeah.
So it's a very nice, very powerful deck.
Yeah, it's very good. I mean, I saw people playing Nadu as well without Omnath, so it's like you're not locked into just specifically
Yeah,
Omnath
yeah. Felipe
walks decks.
bringing, yeah, that was an awesome deck.
Mm.
Felipe bringing, yeah, of not, yeah. Speaking of combo,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, bringing a cephalid breakfast, a deck that was just yeah awesome.
Yeah, it was really nice. It's been a long time since we've seen Cephalid Breakfast, but and we had it in the meta. There was an Adelaide player, Socrates, who used to play it a bunch.
Yes, yes.
And it's
Plays a
just
lot of
actually
Oracle as well.
gotten,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it just got a lot of, it just actually just got a lot of nice new pieces. So
yep,
Nadu was great. And we saw
yeah,
people experimenting as well with Flash Hulk, but instead of getting a different combo set, you just get the Nadu combo and then you combo off with
yeah,
Nadu. So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, it's
Yeah, it
interesting to see where
offers like
people are
a
taking it.
yeah, yeah. That's really interesting. Instead of going for the like this normal Samwise cat combo, going for the Nadu, and which makes like your normal draws of Nadu not being dead.
Mm.
It's interesting, very interesting.
Yeah, it's cool to see where people are taking it. So three breaches. One of them was, as I mentioned, the sort of oh, not sorry, the breach bond deck that Lockie took to the top eight of the
Yeah,
RC7, and then one of our players, Jaden, gave it a go. Unfortunately, he didn't place, but the other two Lurus decks, and this is very sort of generic Lurus Breach, uh, it's good. It's good. It's a powerful deck. I think the
yeah.
more people know about it, the less it is good. But that's true for many that's true for many combo decks for sure. Yeah. There's Max's Key and Wheel, as we mentioned before. We'll probably have to pull it up so we can summon him because I'm sure he'll love to talk about how it wins with Memory Jar, Infinite Looping. It's a lot of fun,
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's
it's a good showing. It's a good showing. All right, lovely. So moving on. So there was only one control deck in the top eight. So I should have mentioned this at the start, perhaps, but we weren't able to get standings, but we were able to get the winning deck lists, and that's the main thing. So we're able to tell who was winning and who wasn't winning. But have you seen this deck before, Josh? Do you know it well?
I actually have not actually. I have not seen this one. Looks from what I can see, it's just a very familiar uh kind of shops lists,
Hmm.
like bots kind of style that they're going for.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah, Eldrazi Confluence, awesome card. Yeah, that's
it's cool to see that there's more instant speed stuff, and I think
yeah,
that this is not an indication that shops is bad. So we've been doing like this kind of hodgepodge method of determining where on the spectrum artifact decks live because artifacts are
yeah,
kind of like a color now, So I think like big mana, that's a ramp deck. If we're talking about trying to trying to power out 6 drops, 8 drops, I think you're a shops deck for like the Mishra's Workshop style game plan. And
yeah,
then but then there's like bots, which is like kind of actually more like Patchwork Automaton.
yeah, yeah.
A
Kind of the yeah go wide kind of
little bit go
strategy.
wider sort of situation. So
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a bit hard to pin down, but Chris did give it a go. Unfortunately, did not place, but yeah, not a good showing. But I think Canberra, besides a few key players, don't really like to play control that much. So I guess that makes sense.
One thing about the shops list is that I love how this kind of deck gets around a lot of the hate pieces that usually traditionally are brought
Mm,
in against artifacts. Lots of players play like Meltdown and the Null Rod effects like Stony Silence, Null Rod, and I think those like hate pieces, especially game two, game three, are very powerful. It's like the Patriot Automaton kind of thing. They just destroyed your board.
mm,
But this list kind of goes high, and once you go past like 4 or 5 mana, these meltdowns have no effect on you, and the threats that you're powering out isn't even like artifacts. Like you see Ugin
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
Cityscape Leveler, which they don't care about not being able to activate abilities, which is just yeah really really strong.
Yeah,
So
really
yeah.
nice. It's a good list. It looks good. I think the thing that I usually see that I don't see here is the oh, you have to remind me of the name. Planner Nexus, I think it is. It's the one that is every non-basic land type.
Yes, yes,
And it just like
yes. I've
turns on
seen
all your
that.
Tron lands. I think that's like a
Yep,
really cool
Trolllands.
metric to go on
Yeah,
with as well.
yep, it's really cool.
Yeah, all right. Well, our condolences to Chris, but we'll move on. Another surprising thing, one Stompy deck. So fast mana not on the cards, but it did take up a nice amount of win share. So one Stompy deck, 3.6% of the total meta, but 7.7% of the win share. And same with Tempo, 6.2% of the total meta, however, 7.7% of the win share. So and one of the Demir tempos in the top eight. So I think we saw a little bit of this at like the Pog winner duel recently. Was that there's this kind of like fighting between Tempo and Stompy because Tempo wants to play like cheap evasive threats and just get one through and ride it all the way to victory, but like Stompy's like three drop, three drop, three drop, you know. So it's like
Yeah,
they're fighting on very similar axes, but Tempo ends up sort of eating them up a little bit because they have that soft permission and they have those flying creatures that initiative guys actually have a bit of trouble with. So it's interesting we didn't really see it play out today, but yeah, it did look okay. How did you feel about the Mardu Delny and the aggro list as well? Unfortunately, they didn't perform as well as they could have, but that
yeah,
Mardu Delny deck,
yeah,
very
yeah. The
powerful.
the Laughing Raptors deck.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's I think the Delny deck. I wasn't really sold on the idea.
Mm,
Yeah, Jordan McGilvery was very into that strategy, and I didn't see the light there, but it's very powerful when
yeah,
when it goes off. Yeah, Delny into Amped Raptor hitting two drops off the top. Yikes!
yeah,
Yo,
yeah.
crazy.
If it's good, it's good, and it was
Yep.
it was the only one making it into that win share. So the 7.7%, very much thank you to the Mardu Delny deck. So yeah, we keep on keeping on. 8 point lists, not a huge amount to talk here. There was two that Morgan narrowly missed the top eight. Canberra is a little bit split on its 8 point players, but there's definitely a lot of enthusiasts. Um, okay win share, okay total meta. Anything exciting here?
Not Boris Equipment by Mark. Awesome,
Oh yeah,
awesome. Bringing that as well. That's
yeah,
just such a not explored archetype that.
yeah. Kudos to him. I think it's like yeah. There's a lot of. I know that the Boros aggro decks are they have like a little bit of like
Yeah,
sub
yeah.
theme.
They may run a Stoneforge here or there, but they're not bringing a sword of fire and ice
Oh
or a
yeah,
sword of light and shadow. Yeah.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Color distribution, nothing too exciting. A low sample size will give you these kind of graphs, but yeah. I mean, last slide on the thing before we start taking questions. If anyone wants to jump in, let us know. We have the deck sheets, we have the data sheets available, and they will be made available after the event as well. So if you have anything that you want to ask the data, let us know. But otherwise, top eight finishes in the last 6 events. Um, Grixis is still at the top. I think that's just happens. There's a Grixis all the time. Breach doubling its numbers from this top 8, so it goes from 2 to 4. So congratulations to it. And I think Mardu mid-range sort of falling off a little bit as well. But I mean, anything here in these top 8 lists that intrigue you, or is this you're happy to see so many one-offs as well?
Yeah, I love the one-offs. I think I'm keen for the events coming up and seeing what comes up there. Yeah.
Definitely. And so if you are extremely local, Canberrans will have the opportunity to have a FNM that is team trios. So decks are available to lend if you ever want to come down to Jolt Games this Friday, the 13th. We will be doing team trios. So that's a lot of fun. And then what's not on this list that probably should be is that the next day, on the 14th, we are streaming the top 8 from the league. And if I'm not mistaken, Josh, you're actually a competitor in that top 8.
I'm bringing some spicy cards,
Okay. Good,
some
good.
cards I've not resolved before, so we'll see how I do.
We'll be preparing those slides soon as well, and we'll be able to get some good data from that league. But 10-week league, a lot of good fun, a lot of good value, and that will be the ultimate final event. So we had a lot of fun last time. So definitely stick around on the 14th to catch that at 12 p.m. I'll make a notice as well in all the socials. Otherwise, yeah, next year, Isaac's birthday bash, stalwart of the format, comes by every year for us to enjoy team trios and single player Sunday, which is just a winner something, a winner library maybe.
Yeah, it's been a library, yeah.
Very good, very good. So, and then National Highlander Championships on the 26th of the 1st. So it's going to be a busy January. Besides the 14th, I'll be off for the rest of the year. So then catch us on the single player Sunday, and we'll be streaming that with Pog Games. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then before you know it, it'll be April. Mana Clash 2, Time Walk for first, second is Mox Pearl, and 3 Tropical Islands. So that's a huge, huge
Yeah,
event. So premier
that's
events coming up.
Highlander players have a lot to look forward to
Definitely,
for the coming few months.
definitely, definitely. So we'll stick around just for a moment. There's not a huge amount of people in the chat, but this goes on YouTube later. But feel free to enter in your questions or anything that you want to ask the data. If you're watching this later, you'll be watching at youtube.com/CBR MTG. If you're watching right now, you're watching on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/CBR MTG. If you ever want to find out more about 7 Point Highlander, there's a great website. It's called 7pointhighlander.com.au. I highly recommend you checking that out, as well as the Discord. Lots of fun places to hang out. Yes, I think that rounds us off. Are you playing? You told me in the chat you're playing Team
Yeah,
Trios
I'll be
warm
playing
up.
the trios. Yeah, I'm keen. I have never actually played a trios before,
That's
so I
fun.
actually
Yeah.
don't know how it like the dynamic works. So I'm really keen to play. See, I'm paired up with Howard Broadbent and Max Tekiva.
That's a
Will
good crew.
be we no idea what we want to play, but that'll be interesting.
It's a powerful team. Yeah, I think the only thing that you have to decide, and it will tear your family apart, is who's going to be the middle player, because the middle player has to be able to
Yeah,
advise on both, but the left player can't
yeah.
really talk to the
Will
right
not
player.
be me, I don't think. Yeah,
Okay,
it will not be me. Keen to be on the sides, but yeah, I don't know how the dynamic is. I'm so curious on how it'll go.
very nice.
Yeah,
And will we see
keen to
you
play.
at next year's team events as well? One
I
or both?
don't. I don't think I will be there. I just went out to Melbourne this week,
Mm,
and so
spread it
I'm
out.
debating it still. There's a small chance I turn up, but
Okay.
I will be there for the prep for the Canberra one.
Yeah,
Um,
very nice.
yeah.
Very nice. Okay. Well, it seems like everyone has had their cups filled up with knowledge, and there's no questions, comments, clarifications. Josh, it's been an absolute pleasure
Thank
talking to
you for
you.
having me.
It's a very much enjoyable experience every time we play against each other. But it's extended to our time online. So cool. Yeah, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you
And
so much, Angus.
yeah, it's a pleasure. Thanks, everyone.